Good day, everyone. Welcome to our lecture series for the course Understanding the Self. And from the previous topic, we have talked about the first topic on the unpacking the self, which is the physical self. Now, we'll be talking about the next or the second one, the sexual self. So these are the outline of the lesson for this video. So I will not be including anymore about the development of sex characteristics and the human reproductive system because we have learned that already from our basic education, from our um, elementary or even in high school. And also, I'm not going to include the development of the sexual organs in the embryo and fetus and the puberty stage. We know that already. And what I want you to focus is on these topics. So let's understand the human sexual response. So don't for the rest of the video, please be open-minded. Let's educate ourselves, no? Be open in this sex education. This is for you to know, to be more responsive and be responsible of getting to know about this aspect of yours. So let's start with the understanding the human sexual response. So what is a sexual response cycle? It refers to the sequence of physical and emotional occurrences when the person is participating in a sexually stimulating activity such as intercourse or masturbation. And knowing how the body responds during each phase of the cycle can help enhance a couple's sexual relationship, and it can also help address the cause of sexual dysfunction, right? So in general, both men and women experience these phases. However, they do not experience it at the same time. For example, it is unlikely that a couple will orgasm simultaneously. Moreover, the intensity of the sensation and the time spent in each phase also vary from person to person. Now, in the late 1950s, William Masters and Virginia Johnson pioneered a research to understand human sexual response, dysfunction, and disorders. Masters and Johnson have been widely recognized for their contributions to sexual, psychological, and psychiatric research, particularly for their theory of a four-stage model of sexual response, also known as the human sexual response cycle. And these are the phases of the human sexual response cycle: excitement, plateau, orgasm, and resolution. Now let's get started. Let's have first discuss the phase one, excitement. So in here, these are the general characteristics during the first phase. Muscle tensions increases, heart rate weakens, and breathing is accelerated. Skin may become flashed. Nipples become hardened or erect. Blood flow to the genitals increases, resulting in swelling of the woman's clitoris and labia minora, and the erection of the man's penis. There is also vaginal lubrication that is beginning. And the woman's breasts become fuller and the vaginal walls begin to swell. Lastly, there is an observance of man's testicles that swells, his scrotum tightens, and he begins secreting or releasing a lubricating liquid. Okay, for sure. Again, let's educate ourselves on this. So don't find it like intimidating. This is natural. This is really occurring. to us. So the second phase is plateau. These are the general characteristics wherein the changes begun in the phase one are already intensified. So the vagina continues to swell from increased blood flow, and the vaginal walls turn a dark purple. So the woman's clitoris becomes highly sensitive and may even be painful touch, and retracts under the clitoral hood to avoid direct stimulation. The man's testicles are withdrawn up into the scrotum. Breathing, the heart rate, and blood pressure continue to process. During this phase, the muscle spasms may begin in the feet, the face, and hands. And there is the tension in the muscles increases. So for the phase 3, or the orgasm phase, this is the phase, take note of this, this is the phase wherein there is the presence of climax in the sexual response cycle. It is the shortest of the phase and generally lasts only a few seconds. It includes involuntary muscle contractions, the blood pressure, the heart rate, the breathing are at their highest rate with a rapid intake of oxygen. Muscles in the feet spasm. There is a sudden, forceful release of sexual tension. And in women, the muscles of vagina contract. The uterus also undergoes rhythmic contractions. However, in men, the rhythmic contractions of the muscles at the base of the penis result in the ejaculation of semen, and a rush or sex flush may appear over the entire body. And the last phase, the resolution. During this phase, the body slowly returns to its normal functioning level. The swelled and the erect body parts return to their previous size and color. This phase is marked by a general sense of well-being. Intimacy is enhanced, and often fatigue sets in. So with further sexual stimulation, some women can return to orgasm phase. This allows them to experience multiple orgasms. That's possible. And for men, on the other hand, need recovery time after. And this is called refractory period. How long a man needs a refractory period varies among men and his age. Now, let's talk about the relationship of sex and the brain. So what parts are involved? Primarily, sex is the process of combining male and female genes to form an offspring. However, complex systems of behavior have evolved. The sexual process from its primary purpose of reproduction to motivation and reward circuit that roots sexual behavior. Ultimately, the largest sex organ controlling the biological urges, mental process, as well as the emotional and physical responses to sex, it is the brain. So let's talk about the roles of the brain in sexual activity. First, the brain is responsible for translating the nerve impulses sensed by the skin into pleasurable sensations. Second, it controls the nerves and muscles used in sexual activities. The third one, the sexual thoughts and fantasies are theorized to lie in the cerebral cortex. That is part of or a structure in the brain, where in the same area used for thinking and reasoning. Emotions and feelings, which are important for sexual behavior, are also believed to originate in the limbic system. And the brain releases the hormones considered as the physiological origin of sexual desire. So how about talking about the hormones? Let's examine the roles of hormones in sexual activity. Now, the hypothalamus is the most important part of the brain for sexual functioning, because this is a small area at the base of the brain that has several groups of nerve cell bodies that receive input from the limbic system. And one reason the hypothalamus is important in human sexual activity is its relation to the pituitary gland. Now, what is pituitary gland? It secretes or releases the hormones produced in the hypothalamus. So these are the different hormones secreted from the pituitary gland commanded by the hypothalamus. First, we have oxytocin. This is also known as the love hormone and believed to be involved in our desire to maintain close relationships. So it is released during sexual intercourse when orgasm is achieved. Second is the follicle stimulating hormone, and it is responsible for ovulation for the females. According to the National Institute Environmental Health Sciences in Durham, they discovered that sexual activity was more frequent during a woman's fertile time. Another is the luteinizing hormone, which is crucial in regulating the testes in men and ovaries in women. So in men, the luteinizing hormone stimulates testes to produce what we call testosterone. And in males, this testosterone appears to be a major contributing factor to sexual motivation. The fourth one is the vasopressin. It is involved in the male arousal phase. The increase of vasopressin during the erectile response is believed to be directly associated with increased motivation to engage in sexual behavior. And lastly, we have the estrogen and progesterone. They are typically regulating motivation to engage in sexual behavior for females. Now, after the understanding the role of the brain and also the hormones in the sexual activity, let us understand the chemistry of lust, love, and attachment. Now, falling in love can be a beautifully wild experience. So fast forward a few years and the excitement will have died down. Pansin mo na. So for couples who remain together through the years, the rush would have been replaced by a warm, comfortable, and nurturing feeling. So each stage of this cycle can actually be explained by your brain chemistry, the neurotransmitters that get stimulated to release hormones throughout your body. There was anthropologist Helen Fisher of the Rutgers University who proposed 3 stages of falling in love. And for each stage, a different set of chemicals run the show. So these are the 3 stages of falling in love according to Helen Fisher. First is the lust or the erotic passion. Second, attraction or the romantic passion. And the third one is the attachment or the commitment. So let's begin with the exploring about lust. So this stage is marked with physical attraction, the erotic passion, as we have mentioned earlier. So you want to seduce and be seduced by your object of affection. Lust is driven by testosterone in men, and for women, it's the estrogen. However, lust will not guarantee that the couple will fall in love in any lasting way. So the second one is the attraction or the romantic passion. So at this stage, you begin to crave for your partner's presence, the feeling of excitement, being energetic as you fantasize about the things you could do together as a couple. So there are 3 chemicals triggering this type of feeling. So we have norepinephrine, which is responsible for the extra surge of energy and triggers increased heart rate, the loss of appetite, as well as the desire to sleep. So your body is in a more alert state and is ready for action. Second is the dopamine. associated with motivation and goal-directed behavior. This makes you pursue your object of affection. Um, it creates a sense of novelty where the person seems exciting, special, or unique that you want to tell the world about his or her admirable qualities. And lastly is the serotonin, the thought to cause obsessive thinking. So low levels kuno of serotonin are said to be present in people with the OCD or obsessive compulsive behavior. Meanwhile, there was a study who found out that those who express they were in love and people having obsessive compulsive behavior both had less serotonin transporter in their blood compared to those who did not express they were in love and do not have OCD as well. So take note of these three chemicals triggering the feeling of attraction. And last but not the least, we have attachment. Attachment involves the desire to have lasting commitment with your significant other. So at this point, accordingly, you may want to get married or have children. So attachment, commitment. So that's synonyms. Now let's extend our understanding, especially on the psychological aspect of sexual desire. So sexual desire is typically viewed as an interest in sexual objects or activities. It is often confused with sex drive, but these are fundamentally different constructs. Because sex drive represents a basic, a biologically mediated motivation to seek sexual activity or sexual gratification. In contrast, sexual desire represents a more complex psychological experience that is not dependent on hormonal factors. So, however, the developmental research suggested that the capacity to experience sexual desire, though not hormone dependent, are probably still facilitated by hormones. So, for example, because of adrenal gland development and the subsequent secretion of adrenal hormones, a 9-year-old or some 9-year-old children may experience sexual desires. Researchers noted that despite this development, children who experience such desires generally are not motivated to seek sexual gratification or activity. So such motivation typically develops after 12 years old when puberty produces notable surges in the levels of our gonadal hormones, right? So meaning physiological arousal is not necessary element of sexual desire and should not be considered a more valid marker of sexual desire than individual self-reported feelings. Now let's talk about gender differences on sexual desire. There are factors that influence the notable gender difference on sexual desire. This includes the culture, the social environment, and even the political situations. And one of the most notable gender differences on sexual desire is that women place great emphasis on interpersonal relationships as part of the experience. Males, on the other hand, enjoy a more casual sexual behavior. Now, alternatively, some researchers attributed that because of the different evolutionary pressures men and women face through time, early human females practiced selective mating with carefully chosen males to achieve maximum reproductive success, while no such pressure was evident on men. So this may have favored the evolution of stronger sexual desires for men than in women. So let's now talk about the diversity of sexual behavior. Like food, Sex is an important part of our lives. From an evolutionary perspective, the reason is obvious: the perpetuation of the species. Sexual behavior in humans, however, involves much more than the reproduction. So let's define what is sexual orientation. It is defined as the individual's general sexual disposition toward partners of the same sex, the opposite sex, or the both sexes. And there has been much interest in sexual desire as an index of sexual orientation. Historically, the most important indicator of the same sex, for example, the gay, lesbian, or bisexual, this same-sex orientation was same-sex sexual desire. There were past studies that thought that gay, lesbian, bisexual individuals were the only people who ever experienced same-sex sexual desires. However, it was found, though, that completely the heterosexual persons periodically experience same-sex sexual desires, even if they have little motivation to act on those desires. So let's have the definition of terms on this SOGIE. So sex is a label, whether a male or a female, based on the genitals you're born with and the chromosomes that you have. The gender, on the other hand, is not determined biologically, but is constructed socially. Sexual orientation is an inherent or immutable enduring emotional, romantic, or sexual attraction to some other people. While the gender identity, it's one's innermost concept of self as a male, female, a blend of both or neither, how individuals perceive themselves, and what they call themselves. So here's an illustration of the SOGIE. SOGIE stands for Sexual Orientation and Gender Identity Expression. Every one of us has what we call a SOGIE. So here in the illustration, hindi na ako maklaro ang kuhain. There. So let's start with, in this illustration, the assigned gender or the sex at birth. Okay, this pertains to your sexual assignment or genital assignment. So there is what we call AMAB or the assigned male at birth, the AFAB, assigned female at birth. So generally, this is made possible because the doctor said that there is a vagina, so female. So kung mula ang doctor na penis ang sa bata, so iyang ibutang na male. Also, under this construct, we have the intersex, a naturally occurring variation of sex characteristics, the reproductive organs, chromosomes that do not fit the typical definition of male or female. Although many intersex people are assigned male or female at birth. So take note that the assigned gender or sex at birth is different than sex, which is based on many variable factors. So where we are heading next, kita sa sexual orientation here on the right side. This is when we talk about sexual orientation as defined, it's who the person is, who a person is sexually attracted to. Okay, so diri nakategorize, amo na iniida dyan ang sexual orientation. Pag mangutan na ka sa isa ka tao, may mo sexual orientation. Balik kita diri sa no, sa sex, assigned gender or sex at birth. So, unsa may mo ang assigned or unsa may mong sex. So, male, kay tungod, naman siya penis. Female, kay tungod, naman siya vagina. So, muna ang kuan assigned by the doctor laong. Pero pag abot diri sa sexual orientation, kani sila no, na ay heterosexual, homosexual, bisexual, pansexual, asexual, demisexual, daghan na oy. So kamo na lay basa jaw no kay murag kuan na kita. So aware na masad kamo sa ini na mga kuan. Pero kung terms ato gamiton, technically ang mga ingani pag ato i-label ang person na ingana, sexual orientation ng ato ang ginamin. Kung asa siya attracted. Okay? So next is gender identity. So, kung nato nakita, there is a picture, ang sex, no, ganina, sa genitals, naka-point, dire, di ba? Ang sexual orientation, di sa ija somewhere in the middle part sa iyang body or naga-fire asa siya attracted laong. Pag-abot sa gender identity, kung unsa ang iyang sense of self in relation sa iyang gender. So, diri na dayon ang mga categories like transgender ba siya? Pamulang tag transgender, person is not the gender assigned at birth. So, kung let's say, ang iyang assigned sex kay male siya, pero pag-abot sa gender identity kay opposite man didto, so tawag siya transgender. Pero pag walang tag cisgender, person is the gender assigned at birth. So nagmatch, no? Na kung kung male siya at birth, so amo sa iya ang pag-identify sa iyang self or iyang kuan. Tawag sa iya ay cisgender. So napa din na mga daghan na mga terms. We have metagender, non-binary, agender, gender fluid. So daghan no. Okay. So next is the diri kita sa romantic orientation. So there is a romantic orientation who a person is romantically attracted to. So lay ang sexually attracted to daw sa romantically attracted to. So these are the categories. Hetero romantic. So a romantic attraction to people of a different gender than your own. The opposite. Napoy homoromantic. So similar gender to your own. So napoy biromantic, panromantic, aromantic, demiromantic. Basta romantic. Okay? Then, let's have the gender expression. So, para makomplete na nato ang SOGIE. Okay? The gender expression. Sa iliyok ining cursor. So, this is how a person presents themselves, such as iyang style, iyang action, no? So, ang iyang manifestations, laong. So, ang mga categories din na, feminine, masculine, androgynous. So, pag mulontag feminine, ga-express si jag qualities and characteristics that are typically associated with femininity. Kung masculine, expresses qualities and characteristics typically associated with masculinity. So, androgynous, gina-express niya both feminine and masculine. Okay? So, express niya both. So, take note that the gender expression may change over time or in different situations. Umawbita na naatay makita na for example, sino man si Harry Styles. So, kung ito nakita, na siya fashion na murag kung kita'y maglantaw, kung di pa kita oriented gadget ining SOGIE laong, murag gasayal bitaw siya. Nga, napa siya glitters na kanang sa iyang upper dress. No, JJ mga anak na fashion. So, ang tawag doon sa iya kung iyang gender expression, feminine. Okay? Pero not necessarily ako naglaong na siya is tagtawag na to na bayot or kuan. Dili. Muna taglaong daw na dili kita basta-basta makajudge ng tao. the SOGIE, ang ma-judge jud nato objectively kaning assigned gender at birth. Pero it's not our part anymore na i-reveal or i-out ang isa ka tawo, no? Again, balikon ko na ang objective ra na ato ang ma-identify kay ang gender assigned at birth or sex at birth kana makuha na to na male siya or female. Pero pag-abot diri sa ilang gender identity, sexual orientation, gender expression, it's never our role na i-objectify ang person. So, let them, kung i-reveal nila kung kinsa sila, kung mulaong sila na gay sila, kung mulaong sila na lesbian sila, kung mulaong sila na romantically linked sila sa kaparihan niya na gender. So, di na kita laong na mo kuan tawag jo na muhatag sa ato ang opinion, no, kung uno siya na pagkatawo. So again, dili kita dapat ang mag-out sa ila. Okay? Normal na mangutana ka, ma-curious kita kung uno siya na klase na pagkatao, uno siya orientation, uno siya identity, pero dili siya dapat himuon nato na pugson ang tao, no? Let the person reveal or mag-express sa iya ang kaugalingon. So not necessarily tungod kay pambabaji ang ija ang isa kalayaki hilig nan pambabaji na baro, not necessarily daw na bayot siya, no? Ang sa salaya sa babaji dili but pasabot na ganan siya ng mga loose na mga baro, mga hip-hop na kuan na tumboy na gadget siya laong. So, mo man iyang gender expression. Pero, ang iyang, let's say, ang iyang gender identity kay cisgender man siya. So, nagmatch raman. Muna, no? Mga case-to-case radyoon na kuan. Especially sa karon na panahon karon na murag naa nagadjud sad ang dapat ang knowledge nato about this kay naay mga changes na gakahitabo in our society. So, yeah. Alright? So, regardless kung unsa man gani ang ang mga kuan, ang ilang mga orientations or identity, let's make sure na let's be careful, be sensitive kay we are living in a community na diverse and inclusive. Okay? So, karon, of course, to educate you about your sexual self, iapil na lang pod nato ining mga sex diseases na kung dili nato ampingan nato kaugalingon, kung dili kita ing ana ka knowledgeable, possibly that a person can have these diseases. So dili man unta, no, pero ato gajud ni laong natun-an kay para ma-prevent, no? So moabot man gajud ang time na mo explore ang imo ang sexual self. So pero mo lagi pod ni joy mga consequences if dili ka extra careful or dili ka laong na usually gakahitabo man gud dinhi kung natay kung ang isa ka tawo na siya mga multiple partners bitaw or mga tawag roon kanang basta dili siya extra careful sa iyang kaugalingon. Ko isa na din na ang tagtawag nato ni STDs. Pagmulang tag STDs, these are sexually transmitted diseases or also well known as STI or sexually transmitted infection. It's a disease or infection that is acquired through sexual contact where the organisms that cause the STD are passed from person to person in blood. Pwede siya, no? Through blood, through semen, and vaginal or any bodily fluids. Pero dili ra sad laong na ma-transmit ini sa tao sexually. Pwede siya in a non-sexual way, such as ang mama, pwede niya mapasa sa ija bata during the pregnancy. Or kanang blood transfusion. or kanang mobita na delikado jud na kanang dili naka-sterilize or uno ba ron kanang dili labi na kon magpa-injection basta-basta kung asa ka dapit nagpa kuan sa clinic or hospital. So delikado po dyon mag-share ng needles sa pagpa-inject. Joboy mangingana ay sadyaw no. Bira kantana. Okay, para di makaamong. Okay? Mopod ni ang mga following pictures na ako ipakita, din nakaradyo na to hisgutan ang kung uno'y uno gadyon sila. Basta kay at least ma-orient lang ta, namo ni ang mga common sex diseases. No? Ang danger ba na pwede makuha sa isa ka tao. Chlamydia, no? Pwede na ninyo inilantawon sa online kung unsa ba, no? Kung curious enough ka mo. So ako ra ini i-run through na slides na ay gonorrhea, na ay genital herpes, na ay mga genital warts na cause sa virus, no? Syphilis na ay tulo doon ka stages. Tapos ano pa? Amo to sila no, ang mga different na mga common sex diseases. Tapos, syempre, importante jud karadyo ang responsible responsible ka sa imo kaugalingon. So ang iban para sa dili ka mahawaan or kuan, importante ka jud dili ka jud mag-switch ng multiple partners no? Kay di na gajud delikado jud ang tao pag mapasa-pasa or sakit manggod. Now, there is what we call safe sex. So, ang mga tao sad, kay syempre, ang kadlukan mga gajud kasagaran is ang mabuntis, na wala sa oras, laong, tagtawag nila na unwanted. So, mulid na no ng abortion, ang iban, kay wala lagi gusto. So, munang, importante kayong family planning. So, for sure, ato mga jud na hibaw-an na daan na ang sex, para jud na siya sa magminyo. No? Sa mga minyo. Para jud na sa ila. But then, tungod lagi sad sa curiosity ng youth, which is wala manggod ta na properly educate, na curious, labi na tong ting pandemic. So, murag, grabe ang number nag-increase. Katong mga wala laong na nagka-safe sex. Diyan ba safe sex, ma'am? Diyan, in the sense na extra careful. Pero ini, para sa ako, point of view lang na ako, ang sex gajud, himon siya inside the marriage. No? Or within the marriage. Or, kwansad, ani na lang. Dapat musulod ang isa ka tao na responsible enough na siya to take the consequences or the challenges after. Okay? Be responsible, be accountable. So, joy mga hormonal contraception or artificial family planning para dili maburos or ma-protect nimo imo kaugalingon from diseases. So, may mga birth control laong. So, ini, tagtawag na to ini na mga mga oral contraceptives na ay mga birth control patch. Kaning birth control patch, igo ra nimo dyon masyag adhesive patch na ibutang lang nimo sa imong skin, tapos mo deliver na dyan ng specific dose para sa imo until na mo reach sa imo bloodstream. So in this case, so lang pa ma-prevent daw ang pregnancy. Mahal siguro po nino. Okay. Say vaginal ring. Okay? So birth control gyapon ni si Jan na gina-insert. Okay. Di na nato imagine kung giun sa pag-insert. Basta kay naa na siya na contraceptive. Okay. Another, subdermal implants. Okay, John, nakita diya sa picture. I-implant lang siya underneath the skin of the arm and nag-contain na dahil ng hormone progestin. So, contraceptive gyapon na siya. Diyan sa hormonal injections. Okay, pwede sab na, no, as a contraceptive. Another is the may ni siya kanang cervical cup, no? Nice cervical cup. Mura siyang silicone type, tapos gina-insert lang siya sa female reproductive organ para makover ang cervix, para ang sperm is out siya sa uterus, di ba? Guarded. Then, nasa male condoms, mo man yata ang common na makita nato sa market or sa mga advertisements. Makita nato sa mga salida laong. So, male condom, latex ang iya ang kuan, rubber laong. So, yeah, di nato dyan elaborate. Kung na male condom, doon siya no, na napod female condom. So, kana siyang female condom. It's a thin pouch na gina-insert sa vagina before sex. So, naga-protect siya para mapugnan or ma-prevent ang pregnancy. Protection sa siya para sa mga STDs, including HIV. Okay. Jopoy say, another set ng mga methods para kuan laong is the surgical methods. Okay? Yung mga vasectomy, tubal ligation, magpalaygit, and many more. For sure, dagay tayo ways to research on this. So, ako lang kamugyataga ng preview para aware tawag, educated ka sa ato ang mga buhaton or mga prevention. And that ends our topic for the sexual self. Thank you everyone for listening.